Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sport. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to do a video that I like to call If I Could Turn Back Time. I'm joined by Seb today. We're going to have a look at some sporting events. We picked two, maybe three each, where we're going to discuss which moments we would relive, sporting moments. So I'm going to start off with you, Seb. What's the first sporting moment that you would like to go back in time and relive and watch?
So when you asked me sporting moments, I thought to myself, when even a sport that I'm not particularly passionate about really jumped out at me. What really got me on the edge of my seat? And well, it's not a sport, but it's a sporting event. And I was going back to the 27th of July 2012 when us Brits we hosted the Olympics. And I'm not the biggest Olympics supporter. I will watch it, yes, but it's not the thing that gets my blood flowing all the time. But there was something special about this British Olympics, and it also touched the heartstrings of mine as well, from the opening ceremony to the end. And the fact that we got third behind America and China in the overall ranking, I mean, whether that means a lot or not, anyone can judge for themselves. But just the constant gold medals that the Brits kept getting, it was just brilliant, from Bradley Wiggins to Chris Hoy breaking the record for most gold medals for a Brit, from Laura Trott, from Jessica Ennis, Greg Rutherford. It just kept coming every day when we were watching it. I think there was a certain streak, I don't remember how many days in a row it was, that Brits just kept winning gold medals. And I thought it was brilliant. It made me love watching sport that so much that, yeah, I remember that memory so well, just being 17 and getting into that and thinking, this is history we're making right now. And I thought it was a really important Olympics for the legacy as well it's left in British sport. I mean, we now can see ourselves in multiple different disciplines just constantly competing, and the 2012 Olympics got everyone doing that. So for me, I have to say without doubt that it's got to be the 2012 Olympics in Britain.
So it was a truly magnificent moment that was live long in British history. For me, it stands out as well because it's the year I left school, believe it or not, as well. And I remember I watched. I know I'm not gonna lie. With the Olympics, I don't normally watch that many events. I sometimes just watch a little bit. Obviously I watch the football because Great British team were in that, and I'm obviously football mad. And I do watch a bit of the running, and occasionally a bit of the swimming. If it catches my eye. But yeah, I just watched because BBC had so many channels. They literally had like channels dedicated to each event basically, and I thought, Home Olympics, I finished school, I've got nothing to do. What am I going to do? Just watch the Olympics. I think I remember that. Chris Hoy, you said winning the gold, and then
Yeah,
who did you say? Laura Trott, did you say, was it? And stuff.
Laura
So,
Trott as well. Yeah,
yeah.
she also won the in the velodrome. I think it was. Yeah.
So I remember those, and with it being a Home Olympics, it just seemed a little bit, I don't know, it just seemed more special. I agree with you on that one.
I know. And there's also I can't remember which discipline. I think it was was it swimming where you see them playing Hey Jude and Paul McCartney in the crowd. The moments like that it really united the nation. And I also like the gold post box that they put in in the winning villages, if you so wish. But I mean, you also had Andy Murray winning gold in the Olympics. We forget about that. Mo Farah, that's where he came onto the scene. Uh, it was kind of the end of an era for Chris Hoy. It just united so many people in different ways and different generations of these sporting icons. And also Anthony Joshua was a gold medal winner in that Olympics, and we can see the career that he's had, whether people like him or not. I mean, I'm not going to go into that, but still, it made a great step for the next generation of British sport.
Yeah, I forgot about AJ as well winning the gold. That's a very good point. A
Yeah, he
very,
won the
very good
gold in that.
point.
Yeah,
You forget that he
he was the
started off
last
with the
to win the
Olympics.
gold in that, I think.
And obviously, Bradley Wiggins as well. I'm sure it's the same year he won Tour de France, wasn't it? Or was it just the year
Yeah,
before?
topped off the year. No, it's the same year. Same year. Topped off that year, which was quite incredible. Bradley Wiggins also, yeah, and one who has history of the Olympics. And I also not singing the national anthem that Piers Morgan got quite upset about. And I like Bradley Wiggins' little dig at Piers afterwards.
Hey,
Yeah.
you got to like him even more for having a dig at Piers.
Oh yeah, it's always puts you in the good column, doesn't it?
My first sporting moment that I'd like to take back to is I was actually in the stadium that night at Anfield. Liverpool 4, Barcelona 0. Now, for those of you that watched the channel and watched it for years, I did a preview video for the game with Jamie. Jamie Davis. You'll all know why. And
I
he asked
remember,
me
I
what
remember seeing this preview as well and thinking, Joe.
I jokingly, tongue in cheek, said to Jamie, Liverpool will beat Barcelona 4-0. And he said to me, not going to happen, mate. And basically laughed in my face quite
I mean,
strongly.
we should be known as the channel that have weird and controversial shouts. But yeah, I like that one. And actually the fact that it came to fruition, I mean, that was brilliant.
And I said, if I'm going to be serious, though, I would give a 2-1 victory to Liverpool on the night. I thought Liverpool would win it on the night, and the Anfield crowd would have a magnificent effect. I was lucky enough to be there that night, upper main stand, and it's just crazy. You could hear, the atmosphere was amazing outside the ground, the coach welcome and all that lot, and then the noise levels were from start to finish were just really just cranked up to the max. It was one of the best atmospheres that you've seen. It was up there with the likes of Saint Etienne in '77 and Chelsea semi-finals 2005. And it was just the atmosphere was really loud. From the Luis Suarez stood over the ball at the kickoff of the game, and it was just a chorus of boos. My ears were literally ringing 2 days later. I'm not exaggerating. The noise was unreal from the fans, obviously. And then we had the super start from Origi, and not to mention the fact that Liverpool going into this game were without Mohamed Salah, who got knocked out against Newcastle at the weekend. So he had a head injury. He famously walked into the stadium that night with a T-shirt, uh, which says "Never give up." That's what it said. So he famously walked into the stadium that night with a T-shirt with "Never give up," and I ended up buying one because I'm a sucker like that. But and Firmino was out with a groin injury, if I remember rightly. He did play the first leg, but didn't really have
Can't
much of an
remember.
impact. And then obviously Origi scored. It was very nerve-wracking. Still 1-0 at half time. Robbo comes off injured after having lumps kicked out of him by Luis Suarez. Wijnaldum, of all people, comes on to replace him. And little did I know, Gini Wijnaldum would pop up with 2 goals to draw us level on the tie, and then a cheeky little quick corner from Alexander Arnold, side-footed finish to Origi, and Liverpool turned it around and 4-0 on the night. But it's more of togetherness, and obviously they stood together, the players did at the end in a line, sung You Never Walk Alone, which gets a lot of headlines. But after the game, George Shefton, the voice of Anfield, played Imagine by John Lennon over the speakers. And it was a moment that, I'm not going to lie, it did make me well up a bit. And me and my mates that were together did have a hug and a cry, like not cry, but, tears in the eyes, But what I will say is all 4 corners of the ground, even the Barcelona fans, joined in singing, and they even joined in with the You Never Walk Alone, which I thought was absolutely fantastic from the football club and gives me even more respect for that club, despite the fact that they're a mess in the boardroom area.
Yeah, I remember watching that game just here at home, and I thought to myself, when I mean, you could never have predicted that the second half was going to be 3-0. I mean, that was just a bit, that was over the top, but I did actually put a bet on that, that Liverpool would come back and actually win before 90 minutes. Don't ask me why. It was a bit of one of those wild ones, but then it came about, and that corner, I mean, it's too obvious to say, isn't it? But it's just brilliant, isn't it? Just that little cheeky corner. And I heard that Barcelona, that was one of their weakness, and then they purposely exploited it. It's just brilliant. Origi and Wijnaldum both with a brace. It's not a night I'm going to forget soon as well. And plus, it was also Barcelona couldn't afford to do this again after going 3-0 down to Roma the year before and getting knocked out the competition. They weren't allowed to let a lead slip away, but Liverpool forced their hand. And it wasn't even the Salahs, the Firminos. It was the Firminos, as I just mentioned. Origi, Wijnaldum. Just, yeah, it's outstanding. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but that you can't contest. That's one of the greatest football moments we've seen for a while.
I'm sure the Barcelona players would hate to think about what happened for 3 years in a row, because obviously a year later, Bayern Munich.
8-2, yeah.
I couldn't resist getting it in there. I had to get the 8-2
Little
joke
dig
in.
there at the Barcelona fans. I like the way that some Barcelona fans actually do say that it was, how would I say it? It was dishonest to take the corner quickly. I was thinking, yeah, come on. I mean, that's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? But anyway, beside the point.
So we're going to move on to your second offering, Seb. What's the second moment that you'd like to relive?
Yeah, so I'm actually, going to go for the same year, different competition this time, and it's the 2012 Tour de France. Now, I like watching cycling every now and then. I did quite a lot for Let's Talk Sport back in 2013, but going to 2012, I remember there's just this constant nagging of British cyclists never doing it, just because I can't remember the last time a British cyclist had won a Grand Tour, even let alone a Tour de France. But then Bradley Wiggins was looking like a favourite, not the youngest, but he was up against some stiff competition with Nibali and Cadell Evans, and Bradley Wiggins is not this mountain climber. He's not a Chris Froome. He's a time trialer, and that's why he won so many in the Olympics. Time trials, it's his thing. But this race looked favourable for him. There weren't too many climbs. Wiggins could stay in the race. If he could stay in the climbing areas, he's got a big chance at winning this whole Grand Tour. And so, with a lot of help from Chris Froome after that, during that whole period, he managed to he scraped it through and actually convincingly won in the end. It was Chris Froome who was second in that, weirdly, that year, because Chris Froome was not the lead of the team. It was Bradley Wiggins. And then this just led, as I mentioned before, the Olympics one, it just led a whole load of talent of English cyclists come in. If you look at the last few years, I mean, since Bradley Wiggins has won, I mean, there have been 3 non-Brits who have won it. Obviously, there's Chris Froome who's won it 3 times, and then you got Geraint Thomas who won it as well. No, sorry, Chris Froome, 3 times in a row, but 4 times in all. Only Nibali, Bernal, and Pogacar managed to break that British cycle, if you like the pun. But it just influenced a new wave of British cyclists, and every time you look at a Grand Tour now, there will be a Brit who is favourites. Even if you just look at the Tour de France this year, I mean, yes, he didn't do so well, Yates, but he was still up there mentioned as one of the favourites. And this is what British cycling has become now. It's the Brits are a force to be reckoned with in cycling. There are good countries, look at Colombia, but we're putting ourselves back on the map, which is probably important for us being very proud Brits.
I'm not a cycling fan myself, I'm not going to lie, but my dad's a massive cycling fan. He likes cycling, he's into triathlons and all that sort of thing. For me, I just couldn't get into it. I've tried, but couldn't get into it. But whenever the Tour de France is on, or the Giro d'Italia, Vuelta España, and Tour of Britain, they're definitely on the TV whenever they're going on. My dad always puts on to watch it. And I remember watching Bradley Wiggins that year, and I found it hard to believe that we'd never had a British winner before. I think, if I remember rightly, I think it was 2010. Mark Cavendish won the green jersey, I think, off the top of my head.
He won it even in 2011, if I'm not wrong, as well. He wins. That's his thing, the green jersey. Until Peter Sagan came on the scene, then yeah, Mark Cavendish was the guy who'd get the points. So it was usually his thing. But yeah, Mark Cavendish is. I mean, that's the closest we come, isn't it, to getting on some sort of podium? It was with Mark Cavendish getting the points tally up.
And so it's the coming of age for Team Sky. They're a relatively new team. I think they come around about 2008, 2009, if I'm correct,
Yeah,
Seb.
they just get rebranded as well. So it's not. It's relatively new, the whole franchise. Yeah.
Because it's now Team Ineos Evergrande.
Exactly.
Is it something like that? Yeah.
They changed not long ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's obviously one of the first big things. Obviously, the green jersey Cav won for Team Sky was one of the first big jerseys that they won, and then obviously for them to be the first teams to have a first British rider to win the Tour de France, and Mark Cavendish, Mark Cavendish, trail here. Bradley Wiggins to become the first Brit to win it, and then Chris Froome 12 months later. Did you say?
Yeah. Chris Froome was
fantastic.
second that year as well, and there was arguments say that Chris Froome could have taken it from Bradley Wiggins that year as well, because Chris Froome, if he were to, in the climbing sections, if he were to have just left Bradley for dead, he could have so easily. But he was second in the team. His team wouldn't allow it, and this was going to be Sir Bradley Wiggins' last chance at getting one. And Chris Froome they all knew he will win one, if not multiple, in the future. They were certain. So it's not your time, Chris. Let Sir Bradley, well, it was Bradley back then, but Sir Bradley Wiggins win this one. You'll have your chance. And he did the next year and was a very convincing winner for all the 4 times that he did win it, and was unfortunate for other ones to get injured. Like when Nibali won it, he got injured right at the beginning, which is a bit unfortunate. But this is just the whole ethos of this British cycling franchise, dare I say. Yeah, it's a force now in the cycling world.
So my last offering is I'm going to take you back to 2017, so not that long ago, to Augusta National, and it's quite fitting with the Masters having finished on Sunday this week. A November Masters for 2020 due to it being delayed due to COVID. But I'm taking you back to April 2017, and there's a Spaniard getting a green jacket put over his shoulders. Yes, it's when Sergio Garcia wins a playoff with English golfer Justin Rose to win his first major and to win his first green jacket in his 74th major championship. Yeah, 74 major championships, and Sergio Garcia goes on to win the green jacket. He's a good golfer, Sergio Garcia, but he never quite got that first major, and it was actually quite a competitive year. It's the first time I stayed up to watch the whole of the final day. Normally, tap out at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock and go to bed or whatever because I'd got either school or uni, college, whatever, the next day. But I was in uni at the time, and probably should have gone to bed early because dissertations and whatnot. But I decided I'm going to stay up here and watch it all the way through. And I think it was 1:30 in the morning UK time. It finished. Well, when he got the
Yeah, in the
presentation.
US, obviously you have to, if you want to watch something in America, then that's gonna be that's the kind of risk you take, isn't it?
So I remember it being a battle between him and Justin Rose. I'm just going to double check what the scores were on here, so bear with us a
But but
moment. But
but Justin Rose, wasn't he another one who didn't really live up to it, or am I getting that completely wrong? He never really lived up to that.
yeah,
He,
he's
he
won
never got there.
he's won
He
one
won,
major, the US Open, and
yeah,
he's
but he
won the
never
Olympic
got.
gold. But he's never that second place finish is the closest he's got. I think this year he finished 26th. He was doing well after the first 2 days, and then he just dropped down again. It's one of those. Don't get me wrong, Justin Rose is my favourite golfer, but he's one of those. He's either hot or he's cold. He's no in between. He's not like Dustin Johnson who won it in this year, where he's consistently good throughout multiple tournaments. But it says like here that Garcia won it in a sudden death playoff, obviously against Rose. Became the third Spanish player to win the Masters after Seve Ballesteros and Jose Maria Olazabal. So following in some good footsteps there.
But Justin Rose is still young, isn't he? I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he's still a
So
young
there's still
golfer.
time. So there's still time for that. I mean, came on a scene young, but there's still time for him to win more.
Yeah, Justin Rose
Surely.
is 40 years of age, so he's got time. He's got time. You look at the likes of Bernard Langer, who's playing in his 60s and becoming
Exactly,
the
yeah.
oldest player to make the final round. So
Or if you still see what Tiger Woods is still doing at his age now, I mean,
it's just unreal. Let's be honest.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he was unlucky in that playoff. If I remember rightly, I think it was the 16th where he slipped up in the three-hole playoff,
Mm,
some death playoff, where he made the. I'm just going to double check that on here. Probably should have done that before coming on to do the video, to be honest.
that can be edited out.
But yeah, I think the Masters Championship. It says, where are we? Garcia shot rounds of 71, 69, and 70 in the first three rounds, which is some pretty good golf to get around the 60s, and because at the time nobody had shot 4 rounds in the 60s, and it only happened for the first time this year in 2020. So to get those sort of figures that he got were fantastic. In the playoff, they were playing the 18th hole again, and Rose hit his tee shot into the pine straw, meaning his second shot was blocked off by trees, so he could only advance the ball 50 yards. So that's
So
what
it's
cost him.
am I getting this right that the level of golf is raising, is the bar is raising now than it
Yeah,
was before?
yeah. So within 3 years, the bar has raised massively. But at the time, for Justin Rose and Garcia to be in the playoffs, because normally it's a tournament that's dominated by Americans.
Oh,
S-
yeah,
So
notoriously, yeah.
so in the playoff, for the two to be close together, and Rose on the 18th hole that we were playing again, he hit us into the pine straw, and Garcia got his within 12 feet of the hole. It was one of those where, as a Justin Rose fan, I wanted the British golfer to win, but as someone who had the utmost respect for Sergio Garcia, if it couldn't be Justin, I was happy for him, if that made sense. So it's one of those to watch history in the making, the third Spanish man to win it, and then to see that nice battle between two friends going for the title. To be honest, it was a win-win situation. Let's be honest. Even though my favourite golfer
Happy to be
lost.
second, the only time you really can be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fantastic golf played over the 4 rounds by both players.
Yeah, I've watched not a documentary, a little brief interview before, and it was on Matthew Fitzpatrick. Now, I don't say I watch enough to be able to know, but how is he faring? I just want to pick your brains on that one.
He's I don't know so much. He's doing okay, but he's never here or there. Obviously, he's only young,
Still
at
young.
26 years of age.
Yeah, that's why I saw something the other day, and it just sprung to mind when I thought that now.
He won the amateur, didn't he? The US Open amateurs.
Exactly. Yeah.
But Augusta yesterday, he was tied for 46th place with a even. So he got evens on the final round and was 1 over par overall, which, to be honest, is quite good.
It's not. Yeah, it's not bad at all.
I wish I could shoot a 1 over, but then again, I've only just taken up playing the game after 50 years because it's
patience is a virtue.
Patience then can be quite pricey, so I'm just going to go as a pay as you play kind of.
Patience can be pricey, and a lack of patience can cost you more.
And the game can be quite pricey if you're not careful. You got to find your little deals for your clubs and your gear.
Yeah, not the most accessible sport, is it?
But my driving range is quite cheap locally. £1 for 25 balls isn't too bad, considering the one that looked at in Chester was near enough £3.
I don't even know. I've not got an idea of what rates are. I've never touched a golf club in my life, and I couldn't even imagine myself touching one, honestly.
Not even crazy golf?
No. It's not for me. It's not my kind of sport that I play.
It's the required taste, I will admit. But for that moment, watching back at the Masters 2017, I can only dream of going to Augusta. It costs too much. I'm sure it was like $7,000 a day for tickets last year, quoted on Sky Sports, and then that's before hotel. So my only hope is
it's one of those big venues that you get once a year, like the Super Bowl one in America. It's just this big event around it, and it almost feels like if the results were there, you've got to go once, even if it is overpriced. There's just something about the event and all that you just have to go. If it's a once in a lifetime thing, if for us Brits who wouldn't go to America just for a sporting event, but it's something you'd kind of go for.
My hope is I get a job in the media, so anyone out there looking to hire someone to talk about golf or football, I'm here. I do look like a golfer today with my my jumper on.
Yeah, you've gone for the turtleneck. Yeah,
I got for the turtleneck.
Yeah.
First time I've bought it a couple of weeks ago, and thought, you know what, gonna give it its debut. Talking about a bit of golf, might as well give it a
go for checkered. You always win with checkered.
So that's our choice. 2 choices each for. If we could go back in time and relive some sporting moments, what we would choose. What are your choices for sporting moments you'd like to relive? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all very soon on the channel.